So now we are discussing the oral cavity, but before discussing the oral cavity, I want to revise two important nerves for you, and that is hypoglossal and glossopharygeal. Easiest amongst these is the hypoglossal nerve. Now let us remember where all we saw the hypoglossal nerve. One is in the mid-olivary section. In the mid-olivary section, there was the hypoglossal nucleus. Hypoglossal nucleus, vagal nucleus. Here was pyramid. Here was olive. Inferior cerebellar peduncle. सॉरी, ये आपको ऐसे ऑलिव है, नहीं तो आपको वैलेंटाइंस डे पास आ रहा है तो आपको कुछ भी दिखेगा. ऑलिवरी, इंफीरियर ऑलिवरी न्यूक्लियस. ओके, यहाँ पे कहीं तो न्यूक्लियस एम्बिगस है. So hypoglossal nerve, the nucleus lies in medulla. Nucleus lies in medulla. Before discussing anything, first thing you have to write about functional component, which is general somatic efferent in case of hypoglossal nerve. 3, 4, 6 and 12 general somatic efferent, two groups of muscles which have developed from somates, extraocular and muscles of tongue. Muscles of tongue develop from occipital somates and extraocular muscle develop from pre-occipital somates. Medial lemniscus. So the intranuclear course will be, it lies lateral to the medial lemniscus, lateral to the pyramid, okay, and medial to the inferior olivary nucleus. So it runs lateral to medial lemniscus, pyramids, and medial to inferior olivary nucleus, then exit from the brainstem. Exit on the brainstem is from the anterolateral sulcus. Anterolateral sulcus. This is the posterolateral sulcus. This is anterolateral sulcus. Okay. When it comes to the ninth nerve, it doesn't have its own nucleus. Ninth nerve doesn't have its own nucleus. It takes fibers from nucleus tractus solitarius. Then it takes fibers from nucleus ambiguous. Okay, and its course, the ninth nerve. So this is 9 and this is 12. Functional component of the ninth nerve will be two special, two general. मतलब special visceral afferent, special visceral efferent, general visceral afferent, general visceral efferent. थोड़ा एक general somatic afferent भी होता है for the sensations of the tongue, pharynx. I'll explain to you later about that. Right now, concentrating on the course. So it course, intranuclear course, it runs lateral to the pyramid, lateral to the inferior olivary nucleus. Rather, it runs between inferior olivary nucleus and inferior cerebellar peduncle. Inferior cerebellar peduncle. And it comes out through the posterolateral sulcus. It comes out through the posterolateral sulcus. Posterolateral sulcus 9, 10, 11. Anterolateral sulcus only the 12th nerve. So you can draw that diagram here also. This is the crus. Okay, this is the pyramid, olive. So the 12th nerve takes origin from here and 9, 10, 11 from here, from the posterior lateral sulcus. Remember this? So ये diagram भी आप draw कर सकते हो. Only thing यहाँ पे ऐसे 2 से 3 nerve roots रहते हैं. Now coming to the hypoglossal. It exits from the hypoglossal foramen. Hypoglossal foramen. अभी आप इतना रट्टा मार के जाओगे hypoglossal foramen और एग्जाम में पूछेंगे the nerve passing through the anterior condylar canal is, अरे बाप रे, anterior condylar canal, हाँ, तो उसका नाम anterior, तो एग्जाम में ऐसा नहीं पूछेंगे nerve passing through hypoglossal canal is, they will ask passing through the anterior condylar canal. PG entrance में पूछा था, नीट PG entrance, तो बच्चे वापस आ गए क्योंकि वो ब्रैकेट में लिखा था hypoglossal foramen के, जो ब्रैकेट में है वो आपका MCQ है. Hypoglossal foramen. This goes through the middle part of the jugular foramen, right? Jugular foramen में, हाँ, middle part में 9, 10 and 11 साथ में जाते हैं. After going through this, both the nerves, they are in the carotid sheath for some time. Both the nerves are in the carotid sheath for some time. They are in the carotid sheath for some time, and they leave the carotid sheath. They leave the carotid sheath. As they leave the carotid sheath, glossopharyngeal nerve passes between internal carotid artery and external carotid artery. हमने याद है कि structures passing between internal and external carotid artery, styloid process, stylohyoid, stylopharyngeus, glossopharyngeal nerve, pharyngeal branch of vagus, apex of the parotid, ऐसा हमने डिस्कस किया था. Okay. So now it passes between internal and external carotid, while hypoglossal nerve crosses they leave the carotid sheath at some point. They leave the carotid sheath. This crosses the external carotid artery and internal carotid artery laterally. So suppose this is the external carotid artery, this is the internal carotid artery. The hypoglossal nerve will cross it like this, the 12th nerve, while the 9th nerve passes in between them. While the 9th nerve will pass between them. Okay? हे एक्सटर्नल कैरोटिड है, पूरे ड्रॉ के लेते हैं. ये एक्सटर्नल कैरोटिड है, इंटरनल कैरोटिड है. अभी याद करो हाइपोग्लॉसल हमने कहाँ देखा था. हमने जब ट्रायंगल्स पढ़ा था, ये सब कहाँ पे हो रहा है? दिस ऑल इज हैपनिंग इन द कैरोटिड ट्रायंगल. फिर हमने कैरोटिड ट्रायंगल के बाद हमने डायगैस्ट्रिक ट्रायंगल पढ़ा था. डायगैस्ट्रिक ट्रायंगल में भी हमने बोला था कि यस, डायगैस्ट्रिक ट्रायंगल में पास होता है वो. डायगैस्ट्रिक ट्रायंगल के डीप पार्ट का एक डायग्राम ऐसा है जिसमें हम लोग हायोग्लॉसस मसल दिखाते हैं, यहाँ पे लिंगुअल नर्व दिखाते हैं, देन वी शो द डीप पार्ट ऑफ सबमैंडिबुलर ग्लैंड, एंड देन वी शो द 12th nerve. वी शो द 12th nerve. ये यहाँ पे सबमैंडिबुलर गैंग्लियन है, और going behind the hyoglossus is the 9th nerve, 12th nerve. So it goes to the subdigastric triangle where it lies superficial to the hyoglossus. It lies superficial to the hyoglossus. Okay. So from digastric triangle it goes deep into the submandibular region, submandibular region. Okay, submandibular region. So digastric triangle के deep क्या है? Submandibular region. And there it ends by supplying four intrinsic and three extrinsic muscles of tongue. It supplies all the muscles of the tongue except palatoglossus. In case of paralysis of the right hypoglossal nerve, the tongue will deviate to the right side. Okay? तो ये hypoglossal nerve में आप इतने diagrams निकाल सकते हो 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's turn towards this glossopharyngeal. Glossopharyngeal, when it passes between internal and external carotid, it enters the pharynx, where it lies between superior constrictor and middle constrictor. हमने pharynx में देखा था superior constrictor के above क्या जाता है, between superior and middle constrictor क्या जाता है, middle और inferior के बीच में क्या जाता है. उसमें हमने बोला था between superior constrictor and middle constrictor passes glossopharyngeal. तो in general glossopharyngeal क्या है, वो जो बच्चे रहते हैं ना शादी में भागते रहते हैं और दो एडल्ट्स एक दूसरे से बात करें उसके बीच में, फिर उसके बीच में उनको अलग मजा आता है. और इधर एक इम्पोर्टेंट कॉन्वर्सेशन चल रहा है, लगता है मैंने आपको कहीं देखा है, और कोई जस्ट ऐसे गुलाब निकाल रहे, वो गुलाब लेके भाग जाते हैं. जाने दो अभी ऐसे बच्चे. वो है ग्लोसोफेरिंजियल नर्व. पहले किसके बीच में गया? हाँ, इंटरनल कैरोटिड एंड फिर सुपीरियर एंड
middle constrictor.
then it goes deep to the hyoglossus. This was superficial to the hyoglossus. So in the submandibular region, this is superficial to the hyoglossus, while this goes deep to hyoglossus. It goes deep to hyoglossus and gives its terminal branches. आपको टर्मिनल वर्ड सुन के ही टेंशन आता है. टर्मिनल. ओके. Before I go to the branches of the glossopharyngeal, I want to tell you that the 12th nerve was also carrying fibers of C1 with it. C1. और फिर वो C1 का अलग चला जाता है नीचे. और यहाँ पे C2, C3, they form the inferior part of the ansa cervicalis, superior root and inferior root of the ansa cervicalis. Ansa cervicalis सीखा है आपको? हाँ? Yeah, it lies in the anterior part of the carotid sheath. It has two roots, superior root and inferior root. This C1, it goes and supplies geniohyoid. Okay. While the superior root supplies the superior belly of omohyoid. Inferior root supplies the inferior belly of omohyoid. This supplies geniohyoid, the C1 directly, and sternohyoid. Thyrohyoid. अभी actual ansa cervicalis. The actual ansa cervicalis will supply the muscles which are, अभी देखो ये यहाँ से ऐसे इतना नीचे तक आए. नीचे से कौन से मसल है? स्टर्नो वाले मसल है ना. स्टर्नोहयोइड, स्टर्नोथायरॉइड. तो ansa cervicalis supplies sternohyoid, sternothyroid. उसका superior root supplies superior belly of omohyoid, inferior root supplies inferior belly of omohyoid. But C1 supplies thyrohyoid and geniohyoid. Okay. Coming to the 6 branches of glossopharyngeal. 6 branches. कैसे आप याद रखोगे ये 6 branches? दो ब्रांचेस जो है दे आर गिवन immediately after coming out of the jugular foramen. Two branches are given in pharynx. Okay? And two branches are given in the oral cavity. Glossopharygeal. So near the tongue. ऐसे याद रखते हैं. So immediately after coming out of the jugular foramen, it gives tympanic branch, and then it gives carotid branch for the carotid sinus and carotid body. फिजियोलॉजी में आपको पढ़ा है रहेगा कैरोटिड बॉडी, कैरोटिड साइनस, रेस्पिरेशन नहीं पढ़ा है? नहीं, ये मेडिकल स्टूडेंट्स के लिए सबसे डेंजरस क्वेश्चन था. क्या आपको ये पढ़ाया है? Okay. In the pharynx, it gives a pharyngeal branch which is sensory to the pharynx. So pharynx का जो गैग रिफ्लेक्स है, we touch the posterior wall of pharynx है, सारे मसल्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है, उसका एफरेंट. And it gives a muscular branch. It gives a muscular branch to stylopharyngeus muscle. To the stylopharyngeus muscle. And in the oral cavity, it gives a tonsillar branch which supplies the tonsil. So now supply of tonsil is by glossopharyngeal. And a lingual branch which supplies the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. Components of the glossopharyngeal nerve were special visceral efferent. This is for the stylopharyngeus muscle. These come from the nucleus ambiguous. General visceral efferent is for parotid. This comes from inferior salivatory nucleus. Special visceral afferent is for taste and general sensation of posterior 1/3 of tongue. Posterior 1/3 of tongue. This comes from the nucleus of tractus solitarius. And general visceral afferent, it is from the carotid body. Okay? Carotid sinus. Then there is general somatic afferent. This is for pharynx, posterior 1/3 of tongue, general sensation. This posterior 1/3 of tongue was taste. Okay? So these are the main components. दो special, दो general visceral. दो special visceral, दो general visceral. ये जनरल सोमैटिक भी है, that is for the, but ultimately what spinal nucleus of trigeminal में से जाए. Okay? तेरा लिख के हो गया?
ये तो ना.
तू आता लिहिणार नाही आहेस ना? लिहिणार नसेल तर ते व्यवस्थित हे चालूच राहू दे.
1, 2, 3 start.
So now we are discussing the hypoglossal and the glossopharyngeal nerve. The functional components of the hypoglossal nerve are general somatic efferent. They come from the hypoglossal nucleus, which is located in the medulla. In the floor of the fourth ventricle, hypoglossal triangle, that's where it is located. Intraneural course It passes laterally to the medial lemniscus. Then it passes lateral to the pyramid and medial to the inferior olivary nucleus. It passes between them and comes out at the anterolateral fissure. After it comes out of the anterolateral fissure, it goes to the hypoglossal foramen, which is also called as anterior condylar canal. From there, after coming out, it enters the carotid sheath. The last 4 nerves enter the carotid sheath, only the 10th nerve continues down, other 3 leave the carotid sheath. So it leaves the carotid sheath and it crosses the external carotid artery and internal carotid artery laterally. This all is happening in the carotid triangle. Okay, this is happening in the carotid triangle. And then from carotid triangle it goes up. It goes up in the digastric triangle and in the deep part of the digastric triangle. That is, it enters the submandibular region where it lies on the hyoglossus. When it lies on the hyoglossus, its superior relation is the deep part of the submandibular line, and above that is lingual nerve. Okay? And there it ends. It goes further ahead and it will supply the genioglossus muscle. So it supplies the 4 intrinsic muscles and all the extrinsic muscles except the styloglossus. That is, it supplies only 3. It supplies 3 extrinsic muscles. It also carries the fibers of C1 with it, which eventually supply some other muscles. We'll discuss it later. Applied anatomy: whenever the hypoglossal nerve is damaged, it leads to the paralysis of the tongue. If the right side hypoglossal is damaged, the tongue will be pulled towards the right side. Thank you. अजून 3 आपल्याला हे करायचं.
1, 2, 3, start.
Now we are discussing the glossopharyngeal nerve. Glossopharyngeal nerve, the functional components are very easy to remember. 2 special visceral, 2 general visceral. मतलब special visceral efferent, special visceral afferent, general visceral efferent, general visceral afferent. Also there is general somatic afferent for the sensations of the oral cavity, the tongue. Okay. Special visceral efferent is from nucleus ambiguous for stylopharynges. General visceral efferent is for inferior salivatory nucleus and from inferior salivatory nucleus to the parotid. Special visceral efferent is from nucleus of tractus solitarius, that is for taste of the posterior one third of tongue. And general visceral afferent is from carotid sinus, carotid body. General somatic afferent is from, again, tongue general sensations, the pharynx general sensations. Okay. Let us study the course of the hypoglossal nerve. The glossopharyngeal nerve. If I said the glossopharyngeal nerve will start from nucleus ambiguous, from nucleus of tractus solitarius. There is nothing called as glossopharyngeal nucleus. It runs between the inferior olivary nucleus, the intranuclear fibers, and the inferior cerebellar peduncle. It comes out at the posterolateral sulcus along with 10th and 11th nerve, and it enters the jugular foramen. It is in the carotid sheath for some time, and then it passes between. It passes between the internal and external carotid. Then it passes to the pharynx, where it passes between the superior constrictor and middle constrictor. Then it passes deep to the hyoglossus muscle in the submandibular region, where it gives its terminal branches are tonsillar and lingual branches. Its branches just after coming out of the jugular foramen are tympanic branch, tympanic plexus, lesser petrosal nerve, otic ganglion, auriculotemporal nerve, parotid gland. Carotid branch for carotid sinus and body. Pharyngeal branch is for the stylopharyngeus muscle. Pharyngeal branch is sensory to the pharynx, afferent limb of the gag reflex. Muscular branch is for stylopharyngeus muscle. And terminal 2 branches, tonsillar branch and lingual branch. Lingual branch is for the taste and general sensations of the posterior 1/3 of the tongue. Applied anatomy: when glossopharyngeal nerve is damaged, it leads to loss of gag reflex. Pause. किती वेळ राहिलास?
2 minutes 43 seconds झाले.
2 minutes 43 seconds. ग्लॉसोफैरिंजियल नर्व इतनी बड़ी क्रेनियल नर्व है, वो नीचे आती है एक मसल के लिए, स्टाइलोफैरिंक्स. दिस इज कॉल्ड लव. वैलेंटाइन डे पास आया. इट्स लाइक दिशा पटनी फ्रॉम मलबार हिल फॉल्स इन लव विद गौरव मोरी फ्रॉम धारावी. ऐसा होता. दैट्स क्लासिकल एग्जाम्पल इज दिस. थैंक यू. अरे एक हम लोग वही सोचते थे, इसको प्रेम बोलते हैं यार. हमारे इधर पॉज कर. So we are talking about ansa cervicalis. The superior root of ansa cervicalis comes from C1. It short course with hypoglossal and then it separates. It supplies genohyoid, thyroid, C1. Then it becomes the superior root which supplies the superior belly of omohyoid. C2 and C3 form the inferior root of the ansa cervicalis. It supplies the inferior belly of omohyoid. And the ansa cervicalis form below. It supplies the two sterno muscles, sternohyoid, sternothyroid. Okay. So very easy to remember ansa cervicalis. It supplies sternohyoid, sternothyroid. Superior root supplies superior belly of omohyoid. Inferior root supplies inferior belly of omohyoid. C1 supplies the hyoid, geniohyoid and thyroid. Thank you. This is as per the latest textbook. हम लोग पहले ना ये inferior बेली को इसमें ही बोलते थे, बट आपके अभी नए टेक्स्ट बुक में ऐसा दिखा. दोषी जरा पुसून घे. सो नाही बंद करून टाक.